The champagne glass slipped from my trembling fingers, shattering against the marble floor of the hotel ballroom. "Wife, could you get me another drink?" Marcus called out, his voice cutting through the elegant chatter of his company's anniversary gala. But he wasn't looking at me. He was staring directly at Jessica, his secretary, who stood just 3 feet away in a stunning red dress that cost more than my monthly grocery budget. The word hung in the air like poison, and I watched in slow motion as Jessica's face went pale, her crimson lips forming a perfect O of shock. The entire table fell silent. Marcus's colleagues, their wives, even the waiter, everyone turned to stare. My heart hammered so hard I could hear it over the orchestra playing in the background. I'm sorry, what did you just say?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. Marcus's face drained of color as he realized his mistake. "Sarah, I meant, you called her wife." The words exploded from my chest before I could stop them. Jessica's hand flew to her throat, her eyes darting between Marcus and me like a trapped animal. "Mrs. Chun, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" I laughed, but it came out broken and bitter. My husband of 12 years just called his secretary wife in front of 50 people. The whispers started immediately. I could feel eyes boring into me from every direction. Mrs. Patterson from accounting covered her mouth with her napkin. Mr. Rodriguez suddenly found his phone very interesting. The humiliation burned through my chest like acid. Marcus grabbed my arm, his fingers digging into my skin. "Sarah, please. Not here. We can discuss this at home. Don't touch me." I yanked away, but my voice cracked. "How long, Marcus? How long have you been thinking of her as your wife?" Jessica stepped backward, bumping into the dessert table. "I should go." "No." My voice was ice. "Don't you dare run away now. You've been playing house with my husband. The least you can do is face me." The orchestra had stopped playing. Even the waiters had frozen in place, pretending to arrange flowers while hanging on every word. My hands shook as I reached for my purse, but Marcus caught my wrist. "Sarah, you're making a scene." "I'm making a scene?" The laugh that escaped me was wild, desperate. "You just called another woman your wife at a public event." The ballroom doors burst open with such force that they banged against the walls. Every head turned as a figure in an expensive navy suit strode across the room, his silver hair gleaming under the chandeliers. The room seemed to shrink around him as conversations died mid-sentence. It was my father. Marcus's grip on my wrist loosened. "Mr. Williams? What are you doing here?" Dad's eyes swept the room, taking in the broken glass at my feet, my tear-stained face, Jessica's guilty expression, and Marcus's panicked demeanor. His jaw tightened. "I came to surprise my daughter at her husband's big company event." His voice was calm, but I recognized the dangerous edge underneath. Imagine my shock when I overheard the valet discussing how the CEO just called his secretary wife, in front of the entire board. The remaining color drained from Marcus's face. "Sir, I can explain." "Oh, I'm sure you can." Dad stepped closer, and I noticed several board members shifting uncomfortably. "But first, I have something I think everyone should know." Dad reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick manila envelope. "You see, Marcus, when my daughter started mentioning how late you were working, how many business trips you were taking, I got concerned. So I hired a private investigator." Jessica made a small choking sound. "Dad, what are you doing?" I whispered. "What I should have done months ago." He opened the envelope and pulled out a stack of photographs. "These were taken last weekend at the Riverside Resort, while you told my daughter you were at a sales conference in Chicago." He held up the first photo. Even from where I stood, I could see Marcus and Jessica walking hand in hand on a beach. The second showed them kissing on a hotel balcony. That's private property." Marcus sputtered. "You can't just..." "I can't what?" "Protect my daughter from a lying, cheating snake." Dad's voice rose. "Jessica, dear, would you like to tell everyone about the apartment Marcus has been renting for you downtown? Or should I share the lease agreement that lists you both as tenants?" Jessica's red dress suddenly looked garish under the bright lights. It's not what it looks like." "Really?" Dad pulled out another document. "Because this credit card statement shows Marcus spent $8,000 on an engagement ring last month. Sarah, honey, did you get a new ring? I looked down at my simple wedding band. The same one I'd worn for 12 years. No. The room was so quiet I could hear someone's watch ticking. Marcus's boss, Mr. Thompson, cleared his throat. Marcus, perhaps you should explain this to your wife privately. No. I found my voice stronger now. No more private conversations. No more secrets. I turned to face the room full of people who'd watched my humiliation. You all heard him call her his wife. You all saw me standing right here invisible. Marcus reached for me again. Sarah, please. I made a mistake. A mistake? I stepped back. Calling her wife was a mistake. Or having an affair for God knows how long was a mistake. Or was marrying me the mistake? Don't do this here, he hissed. Why? Because it's embarrassing? Because your colleagues might think less of you? I was shaking, but with rage now, not fear. Because Jessica might realize she's just another woman you'll replace when someone younger comes along. Jessica's face crumpled. That's not. Marcus, tell her that's not true. But Marcus said nothing. His silence was deafening. Dad stepped beside me, his presence steady and strong. The apartment lease expires next month, Marcus. I suggest you decide which woman you're actually married to before then. Mr. Thompson stood up, his expression grave. Marcus, I think it's best if you take some time off. Effective immediately. You can't, Marcus started. Actually, I can. This kind of behavior reflects poorly on our company values. We'll discuss your future here after you've sorted out your personal affairs. Jessica burst into tears. This is all wrong. Marcus, tell them. Tell them you love me. But Marcus was staring at the photographs scattered on the table, his career crumbling around him. The power he'd held over me for months was evaporating like smoke. I picked up my purse with steady hands. I'll be staying at my father's house. My lawyer will contact you about the divorce papers. Sarah, wait. I turned one last time. For 12 years I believed I was your wife. Thank you for showing me what I really was. Just a placeholder until you found someone you actually wanted to call by that title. The room watched in complete silence as I walked toward the exit, my father's arm around my shoulders. Jessica's sobs echoed behind us, but I didn't look back. 6 months later, I signed the final divorce papers in my new downtown office, the one overlooking the building where Marcus used to work. Dad had been right to expose the truth so publicly. Sometimes shame is the only teacher that works. Marcus lost his job. Jessica lost her apartment when he couldn't afford the rent anymore. And I discovered something I'd forgotten. My own worth. The woman who'd stood frozen in that ballroom, clutching broken glass and broken dreams, was gone. In her place stood someone who knew that being called wife by accident was nothing compared to being chosen on purpose. I learned that night that betrayal, when brought into the light, loses its power to destroy you. But secrets? Secrets are what kill a marriage. Not the moment they're exposed, but every day they're allowed to live in the shadows. As I locked my office and headed home to my beautiful new apartment, I smiled. Because now I knew the difference between being someone's wife in name and being someone's choice in life. And I'd never settle for less again.